the goal in your life is not to figure out how to be comfortable in your mental prisons, but to realize that you have the keys to set yourself free. Hey everybody, welcome to How to Be Mesmerizing. This is Tim Shurr, and I'm super excited that you're here with us today because I have one of my favorites with us. Johnny Campbell is here, the transition man. Woo! Yes! Now Johnny is an amazing guy and a powerful speaker. He's been on the circuit for decades talking about the power of change. He's a very dynamic motivational speaker, an energizing guy. And of course, he brings so much to the table. He's written the books, and he's, helping people with their presentation skills, and he's helping companies grow their business. And he's just dynamic. And so, Johnny, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you so much. I am so happy to be here today.
Yeah, well, we are very happy to have you. So, Johnny, tell our listeners a little bit about, when you're on stage or when you're working with companies, what is it about change that has made you the transition man? What is your main message?
Well, my real main message to people is that change is not their problem. The issue is the transition through the change. See, change is an event, a situation, or a thing, but it's not a person. People don't change. We either get better or worse because of how we go through the change, which is the transition. So my focus is on how we develop the mental readiness to make the transition to and through the changes we're experiencing so we can perform better. So that's what the basis of my business is on. I was a part of 5 downsizings and mergers during my days in the sexy world of insurance. And that was my job. I was a trainer. They said, we're bringing 2 companies together, Johnny. Your job is to help them deal with the changes of culture, technology, and performance. Because I was a corporate trainer. That was my job. So I began to document what I was doing to get people to embrace it. Here's one of the things. Have you ever told someone exactly what to do and they still don't do it?
Yeah, all the time.
And you wonder what's wrong. It's all about their mental mindset and how they see themselves with what you are proposing. Notice what I said, how they see themselves. Not how you see them, how they see themselves. And so my job was to help them see themselves in a way that they could get through the process and still perform at a high level. And that was my job. I spent over 10 years insurance. I sold insurance. I was a claims adjuster, but the bulk of my career was as a trainer.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're working with somebody, we always say there's 3 steps to a breakthrough. And step 1, is resistance. Step 2 is confusion. And step 3 is the breakthrough. Right. And I think the resistance and confusion part you're talking about, where people have to have greater self-awareness as to what their beliefs are or how they're approaching it. So many times people think they're just being practical or dealing with the reality of the situation when there is no reality of it. There's just our interpretation of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so you're giving them, the ability to have a different perspective. I really like how you said that when you go through a change, you're not the one that's really changing. It's just the situation. It's how you approach the situation that really makes you or breaks you, that allows you to go through it smoothly or that allows you to go through it stressed out and overwhelmed.
Exactly. See, one of the things that people sometimes don't actually grasp, but they know it because they feel it. Whenever you go through change, you're never the same person on the other side. You're either better or worse from it.
Uh-huh.
Change is events, situations, and things will that's what change is. But we are always going through those things. We're always going through them. And it's all about how we see ourselves as we go through something. Even when it's a horrible experience, it's how that person sees themselves going through it that determines if they gain perspective at the end or bitterness and anger at the end.
So what are some ways that you help people to see themselves, as they go through this? What are some ways to help improve their self-awareness?
Well, one of the things is, one of the categories is from thinking, feeling, and acting. So I was talking about thinking first, And a lot of times it's all about language at first. Before you can really help somebody, you have to choose the right word. So when someone's going through something, people will say, well, you need to have a vision for yourself. And I said, well, that's good, but that doesn't have any teeth to it. You need to have what I call a promised land vision. And a promised land vision is, how will you think? How will you feel? How will experiences be? What will it smell like when you get to the other side? What I'm trying to do is get them to anchor not just to their visual, but in deeply emotional. How is it going to feel? And I always use Dr. King as an example of that. In his I Have a Dream speech, he was very descriptive of what the promised land looked like. Yeah. And that's what pulled people in. So I figured out everyone needs to have a promised land vision for what they want. Not just I see it, but do you feel it? Yeah. And you have to get really descriptive in order to have the breakthrough, to at least start the process of the breakthrough. And so that's what I focus on when I'm trying to help people get started.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. When you talk about the study of charisma, right? What is charisma? It's really causing people to feel the feelings and emotions you want them to feel. So when you talk about mesmerizing, captivating, charismatic people like Dr. King or Johnny Campbell, right? You're talking about people that know how to cause you to feel the way that you want to feel. I was talking to this sports psychologist, and he worked with the top Olympic athletes. He would train them, and he would call it feelization, right? Oops. Right. There we go. Sorry, my son's calling me all of a sudden. But anyway, he would call it feelization, because you're not just picturing it, right? You're anchoring those emotions, because at the end of the day, you can create these pictures, but your emotions are going to cause you to act or not act. And so if you can create those emotions.
Right. It's the new car smell. It's the like I can see a picture of a new car that I want, but the moment I go and I sit in the car I want one day, I feel that car. I smell how it smells in that car.
Yeah.
It's something that anchors to you even at such a deeper level that you're just pulled toward the thing that you want. You know, you start to see it so much more clearly. And that's what I realized when you're trying to get people to go through a change to get to the other side.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to describe what the other side is going to be like. Yeah. And if you don't describe that, even as a leader in an organization, if you don't know what it's supposed to be like, it's hard to get people to take the first step toward that new world.
So that's really good. So there's two things there. So one, you have to, so whenever I would do any kind of coaching, whether it was with a corporate team or it was with an individual, we always started by creating a well-formed outcome, right? How are you going to know when you've arrived? Exactly. Like you said, how's it going to smell? You know, what's it going to taste like? How's it going to look and feel? And, you know, and what's going to happen and what's going to be different? And how will you know that you've actually gotten to where you wanted to get to, right?
Exactly.
So we would map that out so I could make sure that what I was getting them was matching their expectations. Because if we just had a conversation, we didn't go into detail about it, then we might think we're on the same page about something. And then when we get there, we realize we totally were not. And so mapping that out. The second thing that I found when it comes to leading teams is that if you're not really crystal clear on what your vision is, then you won't share it and really roll it out and get others and enroll others into your vision. And then, so what people do instead is they don't tell their employees what they're doing. They don't actually share the vision.
Right.
And people don't know what's coming. That's when you have so much breakdown. And there's been such a culture of non-transparency, right? You don't need to know that's, you know, above your pay grade. And the best companies are changing that. They're getting very transparent. They're telling everybody everything, and we're all in this together. And the results have been pretty amazing.
Well, that's the only way to really improve performance, is to tell people exactly. People as individuals are pretty rational and logical, and they're pretty, you know, empathetic. But when we get into groups and clusters, then we all freak out because we don't know, because everyone gets scared. But you got to talk to people. And also, here's another part. You have to tell them where they fit in the puzzle. Especially when you're working in companies. They have to know where they fit and how they create impact. Because when they know where they fit and where their impact is, performance goes up. But when people don't know where they fit really and the impact of what they're doing, they don't see it, they don't know where it happens, people start to coast along. And then we get upset when a few people are working hard and a lot of people are just sitting back watching.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah. That's so important, because people want to feel valued. They want to know that what they're doing matters and that other people notice it and that they give a damn. Right. And when you're not, I have this acronym, LOVE, LUV. It stands for listen to, understand, and validate. Right. So we're gonna go around loving on people.
There you go.
And a part of loving people is helping them understand their value and how what they're doing ties to the end result. Because sometimes people will be, in a certain department and they feel like, well, what I'm doing doesn't really benefit the customer or the team. And they don't realize they have a disservice because their leaders have not showed them how what they're doing is an essential part. When you got a 6-cylinder engine, you need every single cylinder firing. There isn't one of those spark plugs that's not really that necessary. They're all necessary for the engine to run right.
Absolutely. That's the reason that I laugh about millennials. When people talk about how do we manage millennials, how do we lead millennials, and I laugh about it because I said it's not that complex. You're making it into this great mystery. First of all, I said if I had an organization and I needed millennials to work for me, there's not going to be a foosball machine. There's not going to be a cappuccino machine. There's no nap time. And there's none of this other craziness. Those are pacifiers for what they want. What they really want is what you and I wanted. You want a purpose, you want a path, and you want a promise. And I'll tell them in this order. Path. They don't want a ladder because you can get stuck in a ladder going up and down corporate America. They want a pathway that moves them around to experience things. Purpose. They want to know what their real purpose is in that organization and how they're going to make a difference in it. And then promise. They want somebody just like their parents to promise them that I will stand with you and I will help you move forward. That's what they really want. A path, a promise. No, I'm sorry, a path, a purpose, and a promise. All that other stuff that I hear them talking about at these social media places, that's a load of crap, man. They get that on their when they're off work.
Yeah.
When they come work for me, that's the 3 things I'm selling, and I'd have 1,000 of them working for me.
Oh wow.
Because I won't let them down. Because that's what their greatest desire is, to be where someone will care about them and not let them down. And that's what they've been given from their parents.
Yeah.
And their employers are not their parents, but they're looking for that level of assurance.
Yeah.
I can, and that's to me what I discovered. And I've said this, when I'm saying to you, I've said it in front of young people, and not one has come up to argue with me. They still want the cappuccino machine, but they didn't argue with me about the idea. I said, go to Starbucks, man. Don't be coming in here looking for that stuff. But that's what I've come to do. Because I've always studied how you get people to move and get through things and accept things. And I just, those are the core principles that I've discovered thus far.
Wow, that was awesome. I mean, really well put. I mean, I love that. I'm soaking that in. I'm soaking that in because that's what people really want. And when I'm watching so many companies these days trying to build their culture, that's exactly what they're thinking about. They're thinking about maybe we should get a massage chair and have a food cart with snacks that we can push around. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's not what they're interested in. Yeah, what they want is exactly what you said.
Yeah, see, a lot of times, especially when it comes, because I've done some talks on culture, and I really start to break culture down. Like a lot of times, people try to put a nice culture on top of bad core principles. You know what I
Yeah,
mean by that?
I
Like if
do.
your here's what I mean by it. If your principles are like, we're here to make a profit and make some money, well, then that's what your culture is going to be like. Welcome to Wall Street. Welcome to the boiler room.
Right,
Welcome to the Wolf of Wall Street.
right.
That's the culture.
Yeah,
Culture starts with the leaders deciding what are their principles that they want to live by in
yeah,
the business that they've chosen.
yeah,
And from that, that becomes the core. And then they create the environment around it. And that's in the atmosphere, the materials, the office. And then finally, they put the people inside of it. See,
mhm,
people don't create culture. Leaders create culture. People live in the culture. Here's a question for you. When you move into a home and you say to the realtor, what's this neighborhood like? What are you really asking them? You're asking them, what is the culture like in this neighborhood? You don't have the power as an employee to change culture. You live in a culture. Leadership has to work on the culture shift. And if the core is based on profit, making money, competition, then that's the culture that's going to be birthed. And if they don't want that, then they have to go back and reassemble at the core. We are now a charity company. We are all about this cause. We're all about, see, what they do is they have this strong nucleus of what they believe, then they wrap it around all this stuff and then say, oh, we're socially conscious. No, you're not. That's a PR stunt. That's why it doesn't stick. It's just for the moment. And then when no one's looking, it fades away and you go right back to what you are. And that's what I notice in a lot of companies. So I always tell them, Johnny, we got to make them embrace our culture. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what's your principles, man? What's your core values?
yeah. Wow.
That's the truth. So that's what I've discovered. Because I'm always asking the question why all the time. Like, why is that? What is it? Why? And then I get very pragmatic on steps. Like, like what created that? And so I do a lot of reverse genesis, so to speak.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
like let's go backwards. What created all of that?
Yeah,
And then I always end up back in leadership.
every time. Well, I just love everything you just said. I mean, really, really, yeah, you really broke it down because that's exactly right. I've walked into so many companies and they have shiny awards for their culture and all the awards that I'm pretty sure they've made for themselves because when you talk to the people there, they hate it, right? And so you get into a challenge because, when you're talking about America and you're talking about American companies, you're always talking about profit, right? We're in business to make money. That's the number one reason. So it's always going to come back to making money. But if you're making money through serving people,
Right.
You're making money through empowering the people that work for you and the people that work with you. Then all of a sudden you're making money through the service and it becomes more about the service. But when it's all about the money, that's when they pick money and tasks over people and how they take care of them.
It's all in how leadership looks at the business that they've chosen. Like a lot of times when I was working in insurance, I had a conversation with a gentleman and his attitude about it was simply, we deal in insurance, we sell insurance, we offer coverage, and that's it. And so it's very sterile and stagnant. Then I met another gentleman in leadership, and he said, you know what our purpose is? Our purpose in insurance is to restore people to where they were before. That's our purpose, to restore them. And what you're selling to them is restoration, Johnny. You're selling to them that we will restore you when bad stuff happens. And suddenly, it wasn't about the money anymore. It wasn't about price anymore. It was about restoration. And I could do that. I could sell that.
Yeah.
But when it was just about, let me give you the cheapest price, let me quote you the best price, it was just a disconnect for me. And I struggled. But when I thought about it as I'm here to restore people when bad stuff happens, I was able to be very comfortable in that process. And see, that's what I mean right there. Like, it's all in the words and the language you choose. you know, and that builds culture. If it's all about restoration, then your culture is all about that. We restore people. Then all of a sudden, that's what it becomes.
Yeah.
We're in the business of restoration. And everyone, that's your slogan, that's your thing, and welcome to your culture.
It becomes your compass, right? So if you're having an internal conflict, you're like, how are you restoring one another? You know,
exactly.
the tool. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's what you lean on when conflict arises. You go back to anytime there's conflict, you say, what's our culture? Mm-hmm. And our culture becomes the true north to all conversations.
Yeah.
And it refocuses people back on where they should be again.
Yeah. I remember I was in a B&I meeting, Business Networking International, I don't know, a decade or so ago. And I always remember that group fondly for two reasons. One, because of the stories that came of it. And two, because, oh my goodness, I forgot her name. It was in my head. I'm looking at my book titles. So she's financial planner, Susie Orman.
Yeah.
Susie Orman, you know, Courage to Be Rich. And she was presenting at the university next door. And so she was staying at the place where our meeting was, and she opened for me. I walked out, and I was watching her on PBS the night before in the same exact outfit. I walk out, and she's standing there. I'm like, hey, you want to go say hi to my group? And so I get to say that Susie Orman opened for me.
There you go.
But anyway, at that meeting, I had a friend named Chris, and he was in the insurance business, and he said that he would stand up and he would apologize before he would do his 30-second elevator pitch. He would say, I'm Chris, and I'm with so-and-so, and I'm sorry that I'm boring you. You know, I'm going to talk about insurance, and if you need anything. And it was driving me nuts. And so afterwards, I pulled him aside, and I said, Chris, I said, everybody's just so bored every time you stand up, and it's not because of you, because everybody likes you, and it's not because of its insurance. It's because of what you're telling them. You need to stand up and tell them you sell sleep insurance, because when you work with me, you sleep soundly at night, right? And so that's what he did. You know, he got up the next time. He said, I sell sleep insurance. And everybody stopped staring at their waffle, and they were like, huh? All right. And then if I had talked with you, I could have told them, you know, and then you sell sleep insurance because we will restore you if anything bad happens. Bam. Oh, that's it. Right.
That's it. All of a sudden, people can visualize that. They can remember promised land vision. They can feel that. They're like, wow, I kind of get what you're talking about. Or they realize that what you're talking about is a little bit different, and they're going to pay more attention. It's like, I do this technique on stage. Even before I totally go into the change and transition idea, I say, I want you to say these two words out loud. I'll say the word change. They'll say change. Then I'll say the word transition. They'll say transition. I'll say, which one sounds better? And they'll say transition, because that's what you were built to do in life. So I get them to see that language, what you're saying, is already affecting you. You haven't even learned how to transition yet. You just learned that the words you're saying are disrupting your progress.
That is really good. I love it.
So I even show them the differences. Yeah. Then I show them how they work. But at first I just say it out loud. Yeah. And you'll hear yourself, and you'll know that change does not feel natural, but transitioning feels natural to a person.
Nice.
So so it is what you helped him with, selling sleep insurance. Yeah. It's all about first the language you choose, man. That makes the audience look around and say, what's going on? You know?
Oh yeah. Well, you grab their attention, which is brilliant, right? You make it interactive. There, it's not just you're talking at them. Now you're having a conversation. Yeah. I always talk to them about how you got to pivot, right? You got to pivot because life's always coming at you, right? And people are trying to just dig in or get knocked over, and you got to learn how to be more flexible and just pivot. So I get everybody pivoted, and it's all about approaching it with a different energy, which is what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, yep. You got to pivot. I always tell everybody, it doesn't have to be pretty, but just get across the line. It doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to dance across the line, but get across. So you have to pivot. If there's something you want in life to accomplish, you have to accept the reality that it's not going to be perfect in your quest for it.
Oh, not anywhere near perfect.
Just accept that it's not going to be perfect, but that doesn't mean you can't finish.
Yes.
It's just, you might be banged up and bruised up, but you got to cross the line. That's
Yeah.
That's the only thing that counts in the books, in the record books.
Yeah.
Did you or did you not score? Did you or not accomplish it?
Yeah.
That's all people remember at the end of the day. They don't remember how terrible you look doing it.
That's true. That's true. They're not going to care about that. And at the end of the day, you won't either.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
And in fact, the most viral YouTubes, right, aren't of the people that are running across the finish line in a race, but the ones that have just so beat down that they're like dragging themselves. And people go crazy because it doesn't, it's the fact that they're going to cross that line.
Yeah.
That's what everybody loves.
They showed an old one back from, I don't know if it was 94 or 96, a guy running the 400 meters in the Olympics, and he pulled his hamstring. And he lost the race, but he got back up and he skipped all the way around the track till his dad ran out and put his arm around him, and they walked to the finish line. And he's a legend. He never won a gold medal, but he's a legend.
But he won everybody's hearts. That's right. Yeah, him and his dad.
I was like, and I was an old track man, so I was all teary-eyed about it.
Yeah, I know, because we're talking about it and we're feeling it, and that's what the whole thing is. How do you get people to feel it? Because everybody's trying to be so smart and try to be so logical and figure everything out, and so much of it is learning how to use your emotions to your advantage. Let your emotions be that great, powerful force, because your emotions are going to help get you up and help you to hop and skip another 200 yards, to finish a race and win the hearts of everybody in the stadium.
Oh my God, that guy was from Great Britain, and he's a legend. He didn't even get a medal, but he represented the Olympic spirit.
Yes.
And to this day, he is still revered. And he doesn't have a medal, but I imagine he speaks and does all kind of stuff over in Great Britain.
Yeah.
But he's a living legend because of that.
I think about that a lot when, I'm chasing down my goals and my dreams and the things that I'm working on. And there's some big ones that I have that I haven't got to yet. But, I'm only halfway through my life, so I got another half. Right. And so, but what I think about, because I've got two boys, they're 11 and 15. And what I think about is if I achieve those goals or not, because I've achieved a ton of goals. And then I'm sitting here going, right? Because I'm more focused on the goals I haven't achieved yet. So whether I achieve those goals or not, I don't think matters as much as showing them someone who's spending their life in a way that they feel like they want to spend their life, pursuing something that they feel is worthy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Your sons are doing the one thing that you don't think they're doing, but they're doing, and that's watching dad. They watch you every day. They don't, they might not look like they're paying attention, but they watch. And they watch how you handle things and how you process things. And that becomes their template for dealing with the world. So if dad's a goal setter, they're going to be goal setters. And especially when they saw you where you were, set a goal, accomplish it, they see that. And when people, and not just sons, but daughters included, when people see you set goals and go out and achieve them, they say, hey, you know what? I better do some of that goal setting. And kids are automatic like that. Once they see their parents do something and their parents are talking about goals, they're going to start doing it. They're going to do the same thing. Yeah. And then they get rewarded, reinforcement, and it just becomes a process. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's beautiful. So I think that, people need to be inspired, and we need role models around us. I'll have parents sometimes that'll come to me and they'll talk about how they want their kids to do this or do that. And I'm like, are you doing it? Right? Leaders are complaining about their employees, right? And they're like, I don't know why these people aren't doing anything. I'm like, have you ever thought that they follow their leaders? They mimic what they see their leadership team doing, and then of course it's deer in a headlight. They
don't understand that, like when leaders are trying to lead people, and I get how some leaders are big time delegators to what needs to be done.
Yes.
But the people doing the work need to know the leader is engaged with the work too, in
Yes.
some kind of way,
Yes.
or at least some kind of progress report, some kind of way that they know the leader is involved in this and has skin in the game too.
Yes.
A lot of times what I see, there's a lot of leaders, and here is the scary truth about some leaders. If they did not have the power to fire or reward, they would not be a leader. They cannot lead people.
Yeah. You're not really a real leader anyway.
Right. You're not a real leader because the only reason people are listening to you is because of fear and intimidation.
Yes.
Because you can fire them or you can reward them. They're not listening to you because they believe in you.
Right.
Go to a nonprofit and watch how that person leads volunteers who have no paycheck, nothing. They choose to be there.
Yeah.
Those to me are some of the greatest leaders you will ever see in the world. Because those people are following them, and there's no money, there's no reward, there's no financial rewards. Right. These people are following because they're believers.
Yeah.
And what corporate America needs to get back to is creating true believers in their employees.
Nice.
But that takes time and that takes work. And sometimes the stick and the carrot are the easiest things to pick up for most leaders.
Well, it's the old school leadership approach. It's what most people know, right? They think you got to keep your employees at an arm's length. Don't let them get too close.
No. Yeah.
So, and and that's changing because we're realizing don't treat your employees like children, right? And
I'll give you a story. I give you a quick little story about that I knew I was headed for doom. Here's what I mean by that.
Okay.
I was doing training, and then a manager in our insurance company left the company, and I had to fill in for a while. Mm-hmm. And the manager above was at a meeting, and they're all managers in the room, and I'm in the room now. And he said, "Well, Johnny, you're going to have to take over this spot until we get somebody. So when you take over this spot, people aren't going to probably like you as much anymore." And I thought, why does people have to not like me? But because I was going to be in that role, all of a sudden now people aren't going to like me as much. And I was like, I don't ever want to take a position where I take that on and all of a sudden people in the office don't like me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was crazy. It was the craziest thing that he said it to me with a straight face, that people probably won't like you as much because you now have to do this role. And I was just like, I said, this is a horrible way to be a leader, man. But at the time, I was stuck. I did it for about 4 or 5 months, and I wanted to give that person flowers when they hired somebody. I was so glad to get out of that role and back to what I loved. But I just remember him saying that, and I was like, this is a terrible way to, it was just a terrible way for leaders to have to live.
It's interesting because as soon as you said that, I remember hearing that too from somewhere. I remember that idea that, when you're the leader, that people aren't going to like you as much because you've got to do the hard stuff. And I think that again is just a belief that we've got to change, right? So you should be in a position where your people love you because of you're in the spot to be able to do something that helps them feel good.
Right. And then also, when you have the right culture, when discipline comes down, people know why discipline is happening.
Yeah, they can own it.
Right. They say, look, you knew the culture when you came into this. You knew how we saw the world. So me letting you go isn't because I dislike you. It's because the culture that we have is no longer conducive to where you are.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like, it's not me just targeting them.
Right.
It's the culture we've created that doesn't fit with what you are right now or where you're going.
Yes. Yeah, I've been in several situations where I'll have an HR director call me up and she's like, we're letting somebody go. This is how I was thinking about phrasing it. What do you think? And so we've gone back and forth with different things. And the phrasing that I enjoy the most with these cultures that we've created together, myself and the HR directors, is where we're like, just this culture doesn't serve you. It's a not good fit. It's not a good fit for you. Right. So we're letting you go so you can find a place that's going to fit better for you, that you like more, that you can be more successful in, because it's just not a fit anymore. Right. And so that way, even when we're letting them go, because we know it's what's best for our company and our culture, we're still positioning it where we're serving them. We're trying to do what's best for them as well. We're not just kicking them out.
Right. Absolutely. Environments and culture can shift. When I left the insurance world, they phased out the job that I had. Mm-hmm. So understand, if they phased out the job I had that I did really well, there was nowhere for me to go where I could, within the company, do what I did best.
Right.
And the job that they wanted to offer me would have been a train wreck for me. Mm-hmm. As far as my talents, my abilities, could I have done the job, but not exceptional. Right. And I knew it. I knew it was a road to ruin. And so that's another part that people don't always think about when it talks about when change happens. You have to ask yourself, the environment has shifted. Am I able to continue to exist in this environment where what I do well is continuing to be celebrated and enjoyed, or am I now becoming a burden and a problem to this environment? And you know you're not the one in charge, so you know you're going to have to look somewhere else. And that's what happened to me. I just realized I didn't fit there anymore. And so once I left, I went out on my own. And I said, I'm going to speak on the things that I do best. And here we are 20 years later. I'm still talking.
Yeah. And now you're the transition man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the transition man, that's its own story of the first time that I had to speak to a group in corporate America about change. That's where this whole idea came from. And I said, let's not look at this as a change, but merely as a transition. And I shall be your transition man to guide you through
it. And it stuck.
Yeah, that's how I got the name, the transition man, because I didn't want them to say the word change anymore. Well, so I said, it's all about transition, and I'm just going to be the guy helping you get through it.
Well, it is brilliant because, again, when I was listening to you tell that story and you said, this isn't a change, we're going through a transition, I'm your transition man, I'm going to help you transition through it, I relaxed inside. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really aware of it before, but when we talk about change, I guess I was getting tight and not noticing it because I noticed when I relaxed. When you said transition, I relaxed inside because as entrepreneurs, business people, we're just hit with so much change, right? Yeah. So much change and all the time. There's nothing to grab onto it. My wife and I complain all the time. We can't plan for anything because everything's always up in the air. And there's so many variables that are out of our control. So as soon as you talk about, and of course, I think it's the way you say it too. But when you talk about transition, I just feel better.
Yeah, well, hey, that's why like I said, it's all therapy for me as well.
Right.
I was like, and you're right. As an entrepreneur, we are always thrust into every job from janitor to president, every job in between, tech support to everything.
Yeah. And
even if we do give it to somebody else, we're still watching and monitoring and worrying about it. That's the life of an entrepreneur. I always say I didn't sign up to be an entrepreneur. I signed up to be a professional speaker.
Right.
But to speak, you must be an entrepreneur. You must wear that hat and do those things. And, that's just that's the only reason why I'm still around, because I became an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Who speaks. And that's really what it came down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're not it's the old phrase, you're not a speaker, you're in the speaking business, right? So being in the business so that means you got to be a business person and you know how to get yourself out there and being on stage is the fun part, right? It's getting to the next stage. That's, it takes a lot of effort and people just want to be there and they don't realize it's going to take you, it could take years for you to get where this image that you have of being a motivational speaker. And it's not even about being a motivational speaker anyway. It's being an expert who knows how to speak on stage, right? Expert in something.
Right. The biggest thing that I've come to realize today there are different styles of speakers that are in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that tend to last are the ones that are willing to give answers to questions.
Yes.
Those are the ones that have the longest longevity. They might not be the most famous people, but because they give answers to the questions, they're the most attractive when discovered. And
Yes.
that's been my career. I've spoken on stage with a lot of really famous people who in themselves are famous, but they don't have real answers to real questions.
Yes. I've met many.
Whereas I'm the other way around. I always said, I'm Joe Blow from Kokomo, but I got answers to your problems. I said, I'm not the most famous guy, but I just know the answers. And so that to me is what allows a speaker to last. Yeah. Because how many times can you tell the same story about how you did this thing in 1985?
Exactly.
Before there's no lesson learned. There's no real discovery.
Yes.
Today's audiences want answers.
Yeah.
They want someone to answer, even if they don't agree. They just want you to give an answer to the question.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that too. There's some people that really, as a speaker, really they're just an entertainer. I mean, they're really just out to entertain, maybe a couple of nuggets or quotes that they've memorized, but they're really a good singer, or they're just really funny, a great stand-up. And so they've got one good story. I see a lot of athletes that will go out on, and talk about their work ethic, but, it's inspiring, but it's not really giving answers.
Exactly. Look, I appreciate it, but I'm not going to the NFL and I'm not going to the NBA.
Right. Yeah, I'm not 6'7".
Right. I'm never going to be the guy landing a plane on the Hudson. Okay. Not going to be the pilot. You first got to be a pilot to land it.
Yeah.
So, but I do know what it's like to work in corporate America and deal with workplace conflicts and trying to improve performance. I understand what that's about.
Yes.
And so at the end of the day, that's what they like the famous people. They really like them. And they like to take pictures with them. But when it comes for answers, they come to people like you and I for answers.
Yeah. Because really we are trainers at heart. I mean, that's how you started and that's how I started.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're trainers and educators. We just like to help more people. And what better way than get a room full of them, in front of you.
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
Because I did it one at a time for a long time. I had a lot more hair when I first started out, and so now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I need to reach out to as many as possible and share, because I meet really amazing people, and I'm like, how can I have these conversations so that everybody can hear, and that's how this podcast and this show was created, because I'm listening to you, and I found you you were speaking and doing an event, an online event, and I was captivated by how you were saying things and what you were talking about, and dug a little deeper, and we started talking and getting to know each other better. And I'm like, all right, Johnny has a message, right? And now from this, it's really, I love the promise, the path, the purpose, you're really, really good stuff. So when people are listening to that, they know that you, are talking from experience, right? Yeah. And not just a bunch of rah-rah stuff.
No, a lot of times, if anyone wants general information, they can Google it.
Yeah.
What we're talking about are the nuances behind that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is when you think about what you're really thinking about. Like those 3 points I gave you, I didn't just suddenly come up with that.
Right.
I thought about that for a long time. To come up with those 3 points. It took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah.
And think about like how these 3 principles can lead to such bigger situations for people. And that to me is what if you're really in this business to help people, that's what you'll end up doing, is going deeper into your content, into your insight, so you really can help people be better.
See, I love that you said that. I love it, because there's some things that I'm working on even right now that I'm like, why is it taking me so long, like literally decades, to be able to come up with the right phrasing or the way to describe this and the right collection of stories? Why? But that it was an evolution, right? For me to get to where I am now, I had to put in the blood, sweat, the tears, all that stuff over and over, constantly digging in my, every time I do a new program, it is a new program. Even if I've given it 20 times, I'm still trying to make it better every single time. I'm like obsessed. And I find the best speakers are always doing that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got clutter everywhere in my office because I'm always writing notes because I think about what I already have said and then I say, that's a better way to say it. And then I kind of rewrite it.
Yeah.
Or I find a new doorway. Like I've been saying this for a while and suddenly I see a new doorway to go somewhere much deeper into that concept.
Yes.
And then going through that door, and it brings me to a whole new world of like ideas again.
Yeah.
And so makes it hard to write a book because you're always coming up with new stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Makes it hard to write one, but I've written some, but I do a lot of audio CDs to capture these thoughts.
Yep.
But that's what I do. Like here's one. Back in the day, Leonardo da Vinci, this is one of his famous quotes. He said, I never finished a painting. It was merely abandoned. Because there was always more. Every painting that he ever did, he said, because remember, he was paid to do portraits.
Right.
And they would have to take it away from him because he wanted to keep on doing more.
Wow.
And then the art dealer would be like, it's time to sell it, Leonardo. It's time to sell it.
Let it go, Leo. Let it go.
So there was this phrase that he said, I never finished a painting. It was just merely abandoned.
Oh, I have chills. That is so
accurate. So when it comes to speaking, I don't know if I've ever finished a speech. The time runs out on me. I don't think I've ever really finished because I've always got more to say. I've always got something to add.
Yeah.
And so I have to be a steward of time and I can't say everything. But then someone hears me a year or two later and they're like, wow, not that you were bad before, but you've gotten even better. Well, I've thought better. That's really what's happened. My thinking has gotten better.
You went deeper into it.
It's about the same presenter, but my thoughts have gotten deeper and more involved in that area. And you're just hearing the richness of my new thoughts. That's what you're really hearing. Okay. I'm probably the same guy on stage.
So everybody that's listening to this, that's interested in improving your speaking and presentation skills, I hope you're taking some serious notes on this right now, what Johnny's saying, because I mean, this is essential. So when I talk about achieving goals, I talk about how you got to focus on one direction, right? Because we get fragmented, we get too many irons in the fire, and people are digging 1 foot holes and saying that's not working. So I dig another 1 foot hole, that's not working. And at the end of the day, they have all these 1 foot holes. And they're all dirty and exhausted, but they haven't really got anywhere. You got to dig one hole and you got to dig all the way down until you strike oil, right? And so, but I never thought about applying it in this way, which is exactly, what you're saying is if you want to be better at speaking, you don't try to just learn more about everything. You dig deeper down into what you know, and you try to go to a whole other level that people aren't even talking about yet.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's the key right there. That's what I've done. Like there are people who have better body language and better movements than me. I focus on structure. I believe that like a house with the right structure, all of those other things become. If you want to be funny, work on structure first. Then you'll find the funny in what you're doing. But if your structure's bad, it's hard to find the funny. If you want to be inspirational or you want to be motivational, think about the issue, the problem, and structurally set that up correctly. Then you can wrap motivation and inspiration around it. And so that's my mindset, always about structure first. And then from there, everything works its way out. Like I did a TEDx talk called How an Enemy Can Improve Your Life. And the TEDx talk I did was 17 minutes of fresh content, meaning I had never said it before.
Wow, you tested it on a TED Talk.
It took me 90 days to prepare. I wrote for 60 and I rehearsed for 30.
Wow.
Now, I rehearsed it. I'm a Toastmaster. So I took it to Toastmasters and I practiced there.
Okay, all right.
In front of the audience.
That makes sense.
But it's 17 minutes that I've never said of my existing talks.
Right.
So this was brand new creation.
Yeah.
And it took 60 days to come up with 17 minutes of fresh content, never uttered before by me.
Wow.
And that's the level that you have to go to. Now, here's the thing. I wrote my TED Talk not to save the earth. Understand, it wasn't for the earth. I'm not a social activist.
Right.
I wrote it and spoke about it so that people would want to hire me to speak after they heard my TED Talk. A lot of people mess up with their TEDx talks. They talk on a topic they otherwise wouldn't speak on.
Mm-hmm.
If you want your TEDx talk to be leveraged, you need to talk on something that you have an expertise in, that you want more people to come to you once they hear it.
Yeah.
What I know it's a lot of speakers doing is they're over here talking about the TED Talk and saving the North American butterfly, but yet they don't talk about that to audiences for pay.
Right.
I'm like, now you might love the North American butterfly. Please love that butterfly, but don't do a TEDx talk on that butterfly.
Right.
Do it on the thing that has some leverage for you.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I've been able to create lots of opportunities to speak and book lots of gigs because my TED Talk was based around my expertise and topic knowledge.
That's brilliant.
That's something that a lot of people they don't grab hold to. They want to do a TEDx talk so bad, but I'm like, what happens after it's over? So, you know what I did? I created a program called Life After TEDx. So I created a little educational webinar called Life After TEDx, where I talk about what do you do after you've done a TEDx. And so people have heard it and said, man, you should tell people that before they do a TEDx. I said, well, they're in love when they first do it. It's hard to talk to people when they're in love.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's better to talk to them in the afterglow.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I decided I created a little program around what do you do with it after you're done with it. So,
wow. That's super good. So again, more gems, right? So if people are interested in actually being a speaker, that it's, you know, what you see is the shiny thing of being on stage or being on TV and the audience applause and stuff like that. But, you know, are you willing to put in 60 days to write a 17, minute piece of content? You know, are you willing to go to Toastmasters and try it out and tweak it in a live audience and get all that feedback so that you're polished when you go out there? Because that's what the real work is. People say, oh, you make so much money when you're on stage for that hour. Yeah, but you're not just making money for that 1 hour. You're making money because of all the years that you put into being able to get up and talk for an hour or get up and talk for 17 minutes, right?
That's what people don't grasp hold to. They'll look at an hour and you tell them, well, you're making so many thousands of dollars for that talk. And they're looking at you like, I don't get paid that much for my time. Right. Well, it's not. I'm getting paid for 20 years. I'm not getting paid for an hour.
Yeah.
They're paying me for 20 years of discipline, sacrifice, and commitment to this work. That's what they're paying me for, because you're paying me to take 20 years and make it 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what you're paying me for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the learning curve, how much time do you save, right?
They don't get it. So a lot of people don't get it. I'm like, I'm getting paid for all of this time that you were doing something else. This is all that I was doing. Yeah. And so a lot of people, you gotta have to help people understand value and results. Because they're thinking when no one's worth $10,000 an hour, but that person is worth it when they provide the value that can improve your life, or the value that can save your life. You know?
The value is worth the $10,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All day. If someone's going to save you all of this pain and distress, you will pay them 10 grand to hear what they have to say.
Oh yeah.
Because they're going to save you thousands of dollars and thousands of time. They're going to save you. So yeah. So you have to help people make that mind shift too, from time to value.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're not paying for that. I tell people that even in my private coaching. They're like, well, how long is the session? I said, well, we'll probably be together for an hour, but I'm not charging you by the hour. I'm charging you for outcomes, right?
Yeah.
This is the outcome that I'm going to help you get. And that's what I'm providing you, right? And so that way it justifies the value, whatever I charge. And I always tell them, you're going to make or save 10 times whatever I'm charging you anyway, right? And so, yeah, it's all about perceived value. And you know, so that's by having conversations with people who are in the business, who are, you know, farther along. That's how you get so much value, because otherwise people don't even know what to think, right? They don't even have these ideas of you know, the things that we're talking about, which is why I like capturing all this insight, all these you know, golden nuggets that you're dropping here and getting it out to the world, because it's so important to have this perspective about, you know, I had a friend that worked so hard to get on a TV show. I mean, spent thousands and thousands of dollars because she was going to promote her book and it was going to be huge, right? She's going to be on this big show. She's been trying forever to get on. She's finally going to be on there. She's a main guest. She's going to sell 1 million books, right? So she built the website, did all this stuff. She sold 0 books after the interview. And it's just heartbreaking. Now, she could have done the interview different, you know, or she might have done everything right and just it didn't hit. But, you know, that's the idea. We think that it's going to be this one thing and it's going to make your whole career. And it isn't one thing. It's a whole bunch of little things.
Oh, my goodness. I wish I could live that Hollywood story and get discovered, and suddenly I am on my way to fame and fortune.
Right.
But it doesn't matter to me. Every stage I'm on, I'm always going to give 100% of myself, because I don't know who's sitting in that room. Right. I don't know who's sitting there listening to me. I don't know what people are going through. So I'm always going to do my best. So it's never this one moment. It's just every moment. It's you being present and doing the very best along the way. My career as a speaker has lasted 20 years, not because of one event. It's just being the best at every event I speak at. That's what allowed me to be around at this time.
Yeah.
It's never been one thing. You know, I've always wanted it to be one thing, like, oh boy, this will be the event that makes me a rock star. Yeah. And it's not. Yeah. It's just me being the best I can be. And so I soon realized it didn't matter if it's 5,000 people or 5 people in the room, I'm always going to give my very best. And you just never know. You never know. I don't know when that moment's going to happen. When I elevate from Joe Blow, from Kokomo to somewhere else, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just know that, you know, you got to be your best at every moment. And, you know, and then it happens when it happens. But just be present and speak your truth, you know, at every opportunity.
You know, usually I ask a question, but you keep answering them before I even ask it. So I'm just going to ask the question, but you've already answered. I was going to say, you know, if you could go back and tell your younger self, you know, a bit of advice, what would it be? And I think that what you said was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, one of the things that I think has helped me in my career is the fact that I was an athlete in high school and in college.
Yeah.
And so I was disciplined enough to want to train myself to be the best that I could be.
Yeah.
And I realized that in business, it works the same way. Yeah. You have to train yourself to be the best you can be so that you can perform when the time comes. And so early in my career, I just trained to become the best presenter of my message that I could be. And as I moved along and I said, what else do I need to be? You need to be the best entrepreneur, business owner, marketer, promoter of your business you can be. So I would train myself in those areas. And then when I got to a certain point, then I could bring other people along to help me, but I understood what they were doing with me.
Yes.
See, a lot of times people spend money like your person did. Like, she didn't really understand because she gave the power to someone else. In other words, when I get on this show, this is all going to work out. How do you know it's going to work out? Have you mapped out how it's supposed to happen? Well, no, I've got this person who says it's all going to work out once I get on this show. And we can't talk her off the cliff. But I'm like, have you ever sold a book by yourself? If you haven't sold books for yourself, it's really presumptuous that someone else can help you sell a lot of books.
Yeah.
You have to sell books yourself to understand how books can be sold.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I use this phrase also, God's not going to do your push-ups. You got to get on the floor and do your own push-ups.
Yeah, that's right.
And then once you understand what it takes, then you can bring on teams and other people. And now it makes more logical sense to pursue it. Like, remember you said she wanted to be on that show. Well, how many other shows has she been on before that show?
Mm-hmm.
No practice. You see what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
You need to be on them small shows until the big show.
Yeah.
It's like speaking. Speak at the conferences and at the Holiday Inns so that when you're finally on the convention floor, big stage, you're ready for that moment.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't treat it like, that's what I mean by sports. That's how sports is. You play out in the park before you play in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to play in the arena until you played in the park and in the school and in the college, and now you're in the arena.
Yeah.
It builds. And a lot of people, I don't think in the business world understand it. It's the same rules. Mm-hmm. They just want to go for the big one right out the gate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to build up to that so that you're ready for the moment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what happened to her. She didn't do enough regular TV before the big television show. Because if she'd done some smaller shows and they tanked, she would have knew how to fix it for when it was time for the big one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
At least that's my advice. That would have been my advice to her, along with you telling her, don't do it. Stop. Slow down.
Like you said, when they're in the honeymoon phase, right? It's hard. People are hard to, they're not always coachable. So
yeah,
after you have a correction, right, or a transition, then people are more open to feedback, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, hey, this being an entrepreneur, unfortunately, is a world of testing and experimentation.
Yes.
And in my first couple of years, it was rough for me because I really didn't understand the business part of being an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And as I progressed along, I started to understand that you can love what you do, but you have to let people know what you do. Mm-hmm. So I soon started investing a lot of time in being better at presenting what I do so I can get hired to speak on what I speak about.
Yeah.
So that's another part of the puzzle for entrepreneurs. They love their product and service, but they're just terrible at promoting it, and they have to work on that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what helps you to grow into the person that you want to become, right? Yeah. It's not that suddenly you're going to be, a different person. You're just going to be a better version of who you are, and that only happens from you doing your own push-ups and doing the stuff that you need to do. Even the stuff that I hire out, I still know how to do it.
Exactly.
Like if I do a little coding, I don't like it. I'm not good at it, but I could do it, right? Because I've made myself know how. So I can do anything I hire anybody for. I can do a little bit of it so I can have an intelligent conversation.
Exactly. That's all it is to understand.
Yeah.
Like I understand what you're doing. Like when I tell people that I make cold calls. So if I tell you to make cold calls, I know what it's like to make cold calls because I've made the cold calls. And now I'm giving you the script that I used to use, but I'm paying you to make cold calls. Right. Or warm calls or whatever. So yeah, I think that a lot of people they say, I don't want to learn that stuff. I'm like, you need to learn so that you understand the value that person brings to your life.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know, you're going to argue with price forever.
Right.
So you need to understand what they do so that you won't push back when they say how much it costs because oh my goodness, that is worth every dollar.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then you gladly pay them and then they get excited and they want to work with you. And then they do a really good job because they like you. Right. And then yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's some stuff that I'm like, how much? Fine. Do it. Just go. Yeah. Go ahead and do it.
Here you go.
Because I know it's worth it for them to do it versus me doing it, And,
yeah. That's right.
But I know what they're doing, though. Just like you said, we understand what they're doing.
Yes, yes. Wow, Johnny, this has been outstanding. So I always have to be mindful of our time. I know we've gone over, but it's just I've enjoyed our conversation so much. So where can people learn more about how to get your programs on how to be a better presenter, right? You've been doing this. You're a very well-known, very well-liked, very popular, successful motivational speaker. And so where can people learn from you on how to build the business of speaking as well as their presentation skills?
Well, one of the things that I can do that I'm going to scare them all with is they can email me or they can actually call me. And my email address is johnny@transitionman.com. That's TRANSITION man.com. Or they can call me at 630-460-3279. 630-460-3279. They can give me a call because they're listening to your podcast. I want to make sure that I give them some extra attention and a special deal, because if they go to my website, the website has no mercy for you. So if you want to see everything, you can go to riseupandwin.com, but there are no deals on the website. It's all static. This is what it is. But if you email me or call me, I will take care of you and give you a special deal because you heard this on the podcast. Johnny@transitionman.com. Phone number 630-460-3279. Give me a call, reference the podcast, and I'll work with you.
Oh, that's outstanding. So I'll make sure that all of that information is in our show notes so you can check that out. I have a profound respect for people who make themselves accessible, because there's so many people that put up this wall, this front. I'm too popular. I'm too successful, and I hate that. Right. And so, I don't like that. It's just, now I understand that sometimes you have to have boundaries because you get too many people calling and you just got to be kind of careful. And so I appreciate that. But there have been, some very, very successful people where I've literally been able to just reach out and say hi and connect with, you being one of them. And so whenever somebody says, and I do the same thing, you have and what I always get is people are afraid. And that's why, like what you said, you're going to scare them, right? Because people are afraid to actually call. When you get a huge opportunity to be able to talk to somebody and they give you their contact information and that you say, this is what you want. And then it shows up and it says, here we go. Oh my gosh, you got to act on that and act quickly, because that's your opportunity that you've been wishing for, praying for, using the law of attraction, making your vision boards, and all of a sudden it shows up and they're like, nah, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, what? Right? So everybody listening, if you are interested in taking your speaking game to the next level, you need to get on this and email Johnny and call him. And if you're like, all right, what was the number? And it'll be in the show notes. All right. So, but I would definitely take advantage of that opportunity, and you'll be glad you did. So, Johnny Campbell, the Transition Man, thank you so much for being on our show today and for offering so many practical, really brilliant, profound insights about how to be a better leader, how to be a mesmerizing leader, how to be a better presenter. And, I'm definitely going to go back and review. I don't review all the podcasts that I record, but I'm going to review this one because you had some really nuggets, some real good nuggets of information that helps a lot. So thanks so much for being you and for being awesome.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. And for you listening, because you listen to our podcast, that makes you mesmerizing and amazing as well. So if it wasn't for you, then this podcast wouldn't matter. So thanks so much for being with Johnny and me today. And make sure you take what you've learned. Make sure you take advantage of Johnny's offer to reach out to him and connect with him. You'll be glad you did. So make sure you do that, and then tune in next time. So thanks so much, and make today a sure success. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hey, would you like more free tips on how to be a mesmerizing leader? Then check out mesmerizingleadership.com, and also hang out with me on Facebook, facebook.com/Tim Shurr. Thanks so much, and make your day a sure success.